She wrote a letter to the court asking them to kill her, not asking for mercy, not filing an appeal, asking them to schedule her execution as fast as possible. And they said yes. That is where this story almost ends. But here is what makes it complicated. She was 19 years old when it happened. She was broke, trapped, and trying to get home to her kids. And the man who actually did the killing walked into the same courtroom and got a different sentence entirely. Hello, you're watching Women That Kill. Today's case is not just about what happened in that apartment. It is about what happened after. It is about a legal system that gave a woman with no money and no experience a lawyer with no experience, and then handed her a death sentence. And the question you're going to be sitting with by the end is this: was justice served, or was it just convenient? Erica Yvonne Sheppard was born on September 1st, 1973, in Bay City, Texas. She completed high school, which matters because it shows she was not someone who had given up on education or on the basic structures that are supposed to provide young people with a path forward. By the time she was 19, Erica was a mother of 3 young children. She was unemployed. She was in an abusive relationship with the father of her children. She had almost no resources and very few options. She moved to Houston with her 10-month-old baby to live with her older brother, Jonathan. Jonathan had a live-in boyfriend, James Dickerson, who was also 19. Erica was homesick almost immediately, but she had no money or transportation to get back to Bay City, so she stayed. This is the world Erica Sheppard inhabited in the summer of 1993. 19 years old, broke, isolated, dependent on family in a city that was not hers, trying to figure out what came next in a life that had not given her a lot to work with. What came next was the worst decision she ever made. Before we get into the crime itself, I want to give you the context that makes this case more than just a murder story. Because the legal system that processed Erica Sheppard is one of the most scrutinized and most criticized capital punishment systems in the world. And understanding it changes how you see everything that follows. Texas executes more people than any other state in America. It is not closed. Since the reinstatement of the death penalty in 1976, Texas has executed more than 500 people, more than the next several states combined. The sheer scale of that number demands examination. Who ends up on death row in Texas? The answer is remarkably consistent. Almost uniformly, the people sentenced to death in Texas are people who could not afford their own legal defense. They are represented by court-appointed attorneys, lawyers appointed by the state to represent clients who cannot afford to hire their own counsel. The quality of that representation varies enormously, and the consequences of inadequate representation in a capital case are as serious as consequences get. Under Texas law, a jury sentencing someone to death must answer yes to 3 specific questions during the punishment phase of the trial. First, did the defendant act deliberately? Second, was the defendant's conduct unreasonable, given any provocation offered by the victim? Third, is there a probability that the defendant will commit future acts of violence that would pose a continuing threat to society? If the jury answers no to any one of those 3 questions, the defendant receives a life sentence rather than death. The third question, the future dangerousness question, is particularly controversial. It asks a jury to predict the future, to determine Based on testimony and evidence, whether a person standing before them today will be violent tomorrow and the day after and for the rest of their life. It is not a question that can be answered with certainty. It is a question of probability, of perception, of the stories witnesses tell, of the way a defendant looks, and of the assumptions a jury brings into the room with them. And in a system where the quality of your legal defense depends entirely on how much money you have, that question becomes a lottery in which the stakes are life and death. Erica Sheppard was about to learn what it meant to be on the wrong side of that lottery. On the evening of June 29, 1993, Erica, James, and a friend, Corey Jordan, were sitting around the Houston apartment doing nothing in particular. James made a comment. Casual, offhand, the kind of thing people say without expecting anyone to take it seriously. He said he needed money and was willing to rob people to get it. Then, he asked Erica for help. He offered her a share of the money, and he told her she could use the stolen car to drive back to Bay City and visit her friends. That offer, a car and some money and a way home, was the thing Erica had been missing since she arrived in Houston. And she said yes. It is important to be honest about what that yes meant. Erica knew what she was agreeing to. She was not coerced at gunpoint. She was not threatened. She made a choice, a terrible, consequential, irreversible choice. And that choice led directly to the death of an innocent woman. Nothing that follows about the failures of the legal system changes that. On June 30th, 1993, Erica and James went looking for a victim in the apartment complex where they were staying. They found Marilyn Meagher, a 43-year-old real estate agent and mother of two, carrying packages from her black Mazda to her apartment. They watched her. They waited. When Marilyn left her apartment door open to bring in more packages, they slipped inside and hid. When Marilyn returned, they jumped her. She was knocked to the hallway floor. James held her down. Marilyn screamed. Erica had brought a knife. She handed it to James. He threatened to cut Marilyn's throat if she did not stop screaming. Marilyn did not stop. James tried to use the knife. It was not sharp enough. Erica ran to the kitchen. She pulled a butcher knife from one of the drawers and brought it back to James. Then she went into the bedroom and searched through Marilyn's belongings, finding money and car keys. When James called out for her, she returned to the hallway. Marilyn was still alive, still breathing. Blood was coming from her throat. What happened next took several more brutal minutes. James placed a plastic bag over Marilyn's face. He wrapped a bedsheet around her. He picked up a 10-pound statue from a glass table and, while Erica held the dying woman down, smashed it over her head. Then they left. One of Marilyn's daughters found her mother's body and called the police. Because Erica and James had committed the murder at the same apartment complex where they were living, investigators had little difficulty generating leads. An acquaintance provided the information the police needed. On June 30th, 1993, the same day as the murder, Erica Sheppard was brought in for questioning. She gave a full confession. She admitted she was present. She admitted she handed James the knife from her bag. She admitted she retrieved the butcher knife from the kitchen. She admitted she searched the bedroom for money and car keys. She admitted she held Marilyn down. She told investigators she had not stabbed or beaten Marilyn herself. That was James. But she did not deny what she had done. When investigators asked why they had not simply overpowered Marilyn, taken the keys and the money, and left, why the killing had been necessary, Erica's only answer was that she had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was not an answer that satisfied anyone. Erica Sheppard could not afford a lawyer. She was assigned a court-appointed attorney named Charles Brown. Brown had never been lead counsel on a death penalty case. The two other lawyers appointed to assist him had even less experience. Together, they represented a 19-year-old woman whose life was on the line in one of the most consequential legal proceedings imaginable. Brown barely mounted a defense. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. Erica's own confession, a bloody handprint at the scene that matched her hand in the victim's blood, and the testimony of Corey Jordan, who told the jury that the night before the murder, Erica and James had discussed their willingness to kill if necessary during the robbery. On April 25, 1995, Erica Sheppard was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death. The prosecution called 11 witnesses during the punishment phase, the part of the trial where the jury had to determine whether Erica deserved death or life in prison. Corey Jordan testified that the night before the Meagher murder, he had watched Erica and James attempt to rob another woman in the apartment complex. The attempt was abandoned only because the woman ran into her apartment and locked the door. A woman named Paula Allen testified that Erica had lured Paula's new boyfriend out onto the street, where a car drove by and opened fire on him. Paula believed Erica had set him up to be killed. Two of Erica's jailmates testified that after news of the Meagher murder aired on television at the Harris County Jail, Erica had bragged about the killing. The jury answered yes to all three questions. Death. People sentenced to death in Texas have the right to appeal. Erica was assigned a new court-appointed attorney, James Keegan, to handle her appeals. The relationship between Erica and Keegan was immediately difficult. Erica says Keegan told her she had no case and little hope of the conviction being overturned. Keegan denies saying this. Whatever was actually said, Erica left those conversations with the understanding that fighting was pointless. On November 7, 1997, Erica Sheppard wrote a letter to the appellate court requesting that her appeal be dismissed immediately and that her execution be carried out as quickly as possible. The court complied. An execution date was set for April 20, 1998. While on death row, Erica had become a born-again Christian. She told her mother she would only change her mind if she received some kind of sign, some indication from God that she was meant to live rather than die. She meant it. 1 week before her scheduled execution, the Reverend Jesse Jackson visited Erica on death row. Whatever passed between them in that room, Erica Sheppard walked out of it wanting to live. A new legal team was assembled. New appeals were filed. The fight for her life began again. As of the time the original script for this episode was written, Erica Sheppard remained on death row at the Mountain View Unit in Gatesville, Texas, one of the longest-serving women on Texas death row. Her case continues to raise questions about the quality of legal representation provided to capital defendants who cannot afford their own counsel, about the reliability of jailhouse informant testimony, and about what justice actually looks like when its application depends so heavily on how much money you have. Before we move to the closing segment, I want to say something directly. Marilyn Meagher was 43 years old. She was a real estate agent. She was a mother of 2. She was carrying packages from her car to her apartment. An ordinary errand on an ordinary afternoon, when two people decided that what she had was worth more than she was. She screamed because she was fighting for her life. She kept screaming even when James threatened to cut her throat. She did not go quietly. She fought, and she died anyway, in her own hallway, at the hands of people who had walked into her home uninvited and decided the only way out was through her. The conversations about legal representation and systemic inequality that Erica's case rightly generates cannot be allowed to push Marilyn Meagher to the margins of her own story. She was the victim. She mattered. And she deserves to be remembered by name. At the end of every episode, if I can find the killer's birthday, I take a look at their zodiac sign, because it gives us an interesting lens through which to view who they were. Erica Sheppard was born on September 1st, 1973. That makes her a Virgo. Virgos are known for being hardworking, helpful, and deeply practical. They are the people who show up and offer to help before anyone asks. They are reliable, honest, and driven by a need to fix things, to find the mess and address it, to make systems run more smoothly, to be useful in ways that others might not even notice. They are intelligent but often introverted, sometimes struggling to express what they know and feel as they intend. But Virgos also have a shadow side. They can be their own worst enemies, drawn to chaos rather than away from it, unable to slow down and say stop before things spiral beyond their control. They can make themselves available to the wrong people for the wrong reasons, stepping into situations they should walk away from, because the habit of helping and the desire to be needed are stronger than the instinct for self-preservation. When you look at Erica Sheppard through that lens, something uncomfortably familiar comes into focus. The plan was James's. The offer was James's. Erica said yes, and then she helped in the particular, practical, step-by-step way that made everything worse. The kitchen knife, searching the bedroom, holding Marilyn down. Each action was a practical contribution to a catastrophe she could have stepped away from at any point. Virgos are said to need to learn to tell themselves to stop in time. Before the catastrophe arrives, Erica Sheppard did not stop in time, and the consequences have followed her for more than 30 years. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to learn more, check out my playlist